Hello all, quick sim update. Thanks so much to everybody that downloaded, tried the sim out and took the time to report some feedback of problems and things that weren't working, all things that they'd like to see. I did see a big group of you on Windows had an issue with the controller, so I wanted to come on quickly and give some workarounds and fixes to a few things just to get you guys going. I'm also going away for like 2 weeks, so I won't have any more updates until January, so I wanted to squeeze this out now along with another build. So first off, the control issues and stuff, let's go down to my horrible old PC on the floor and I'll show you what's happening there. Right guys, I'm just down the floor here with my old Windows laptop, so I have to excuse the filming and the sound here, it's not particularly good. I wanted to run through some of the basics of what people were commenting and how to fix a few things. So first off, connecting wise, if you've got something like any type of FreeSky Tyrannus or something like that, it's literally a case of how do you connect to the sim. You find yourself a USB cable, you plug it in, and you should have this little thing pop up on the screen to say, do you want to connect as a joystick or storage? You just have to say joystick and you get that nice little noise. Now I wanted to explain, this is going to focus again, there we go, that when I was testing it out I was using this particular radio, which is a fairly newish one. It's the X9 Lite or something, and that was with Windows absolutely fine here. If we go in and show the joystick setup and stuff, you can see that my sticks are moving absolutely fine and everything's okie dokies. So the one interesting thing about this radio that I noticed, if we go to the firmware version, so I noticed because I put it on here, on this one I'm running OpenTX 231. Now if I go to a different radio, and this is what I've been doing, try and replicate the problem some of you guys were having. So what I've got here is one of the early FreeSky X7s, so let's do the same thing and run this one up. So is this screen particularly recognizable to people? Again, if we go into the joystick setup, I think this is what a lot of you guys were talking about. You get sort of a wrapping round after you get to like a halfway point, which is all very weird and doesn't seem to work very well. Now interestingly on this one, what I notice is this is on OpenTX 223, and there's actually a fix that was put in at OpenTX 2.3 that increased the resolution of these sticks quite a distance, and I have the feeling the sim is picking up that reduced resolution as like all the stick instead of spreading it out amongst the stick. So I'm going to upgrade this one in a second to see if that fixes it like the other one works, but because upgrading's quite a big deal, I'll show you another workaround for it. And this looks like it would reduce the resolution of the sticks, but just having read that fix, it's essentially the same thing. If you go into your model, and you can see I've just got one up here called Simulator with 4 channels, go onto your mixer screen, and let's take the aileron channel here, which is basically the roll, which you can see it sort of, if I go back, it wraps around. So if we go into the mixer and go and edit that, then we change the weight to 50, which is really hard to see in my viewfinder. And if we change the offset to 50 as well, I'm going to look at the screen at the same time, so you should see this actually happen. Oop. So 36, right, see here we've got the weight and offset to 50. If we now do that, you'll see we're absolutely clear. I'll just do one more channel as well. I'll do elevator because that's on the same joystick, so it's easy to see. Again, I'm going to set the weight to 50 and the offset to 50. And you can see on the screen now that we're nicely centered, and when I move my stick, you see we've got a much better thing of what's happening there. So that is the workaround for it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and upgrade this to 2.3 just to see if that fixes the problem, and then I can say, you know, you've got two ways of doing it. So I'm going to do that now, and we'll come back and have a look. Okay, we're back from the computer, and look, I've updated my font. And if I now go and see where we are, we have now got OpenTX 232 on board. And obviously with this model, what I did was I went back to my mixes, and for each one I turned it back to normal. So we've got the weight is 100 and offset is 0. So if we now try the sim again, focus, there we go. We should be going kind of normally. And if we have a look at the joystick setup, you'll see that we've got normal goings on. So two solutions there. I would actually suggest, I mean, it sounds like it's a workaround rather than me fixing stuff, but the added resolution in OpenTX 2.3 is really worth upgrading to. I could really tell the difference. Obviously, upgrading a radio is not a small deal. It may, depending on what version you're coming from, affect your models, so check that out if you do it. But if you don't, for now, look at changing the weight and the offset. I will go back and certainly look at how calibration can be done. At the moment, I feel kind of constrained by the engine because it doesn't give me access to sort of the raw data of the joystick. It's just like, here's the joystick, so you can calibrate it all you like, but if it thinks that is the max and going past it loops around, it's hard to calibrate further. Obviously other programs do it, so it's not impossible, but I just need to make sure I can figure out how. The other thing a few people pointed out is if you hit escape and then you went to the keys or something like that and then you hit escape again, it wouldn't return back to the menu. The new build does that, so if you go to anything you can escape back and then escape will bring you back again. That bit's fixed, along with the channel mapping. I basically made a massive typo here and carried it all through the program where this was down as TEAR, it should of course be TAER, which is now fixed. But I just wanted to talk about channel stuff as well, because somebody said, for example, I use RETR. What can I, or RETA, RETA. Is there any chance of you doing another channel map? And yes, future will think of something so you can assign access to stuff. But at the moment, if you were, and I'm back to this radio again, I'll just do a quick example because I've actually set myself up a RETA map. So if I'm on RETA, my pitch is okay, my roll is where yours should be, my throttle's okay, basically yaw and roll are reversed. So what do you do if this happens? Can you fix it on the radio? You certainly can. If you again go to your mix page, your first 4 channels, you can set exactly what is what as far as anything goes, and this is a per model basis, this won't screw up anything. So I can basically, this is what RETA looks like, but I could easily change this to be AETR just by going and saying, okay, for channel 1 I want aileron, channel 2 is elevator, that's fine, channel 3 is throttle, that's fine. So what I just need to do then is edit channel 4 and say I want channel 4 to be rudder there. And if I then come out of that, you see I've got, apart from the fact that's reversed for some reason, let's get that back to normal. Roll is good, pitch is good, yaw is good, throttle is good. So if anything's not matching up or you've got a couple of things reversed, hopefully if you've got at least sort of something running OpenTX, it's very easy to change that around. If you're on different sort of radios, then I'll have to do something in the future that can help you out. A couple of people have pointed out a bug we seem to have with either textures or shadows flickering, and we can demonstrate that if we look at this shadow on the racing hoop here, you can see it kind of just flicker about a bit. It's not keeping still for some reason. It's like the light's changing, which is obviously, I mean, it doesn't break the game, but it certainly is a bit annoying, isn't it? Thanks to the guys that reported that. It's on my list of things to look at, and to be honest, I haven't really looked much at how the lighting and shadows work, apart from the fact I have to get them all pre-calculated and stuff. But yeah, that's on my list of to-dos. So hopefully that sorts out the majority of you. I'm sure it won't be everybody. Keep letting me know if you've still got problems. The other bunch of users that had a problem with the Catalina users on macOS, and I thought this might be a problem because there's all these new more security measures basically saying you didn't download this from a registered developer who's like on the Apple Store, therefore we don't want to treat it. And it's really quite annoying because it doesn't say we don't like the look of this file, we're not going to run it. It's just like this is broken, can't run it, which is a bit vague. What you have to do if you're on Catalina is basically chmod the file inside the app, which make it executable. And if that sounds like gobbledygook for you, it might do, unless you've come sort of from a Unixy type background. It basically just sets the file to be runnable. Essentially, you still have to then go in and change security settings. Now, a whole bunch of you sent solutions in and explained what was going on Catalina. Thanks so much to all of you. Doru Montian, special thanks to you. He created a video showing exactly what you have to do it. I'll link that down in the description below. If you take a look at that and you're on Catalina, it sort of takes you through exactly what you have to do to get it running. So many thanks to him for that one. There are also a small but very enthusiastic bunch of Linux users that asked for a build. And yeah, I managed to get a build out for them because essentially it's ticking a few more boxes. What I can't do is test it very well at the moment on Linux because I'm not set up to do that, and my virtual machine didn't want to run it. So I'm kind of relying on you guys as Linux users. I'm sure you're used to messing around with command lines and recompiling kernels occasionally, to let me know what the issues are, and I'll try and update them in a central position. But those builds are available now, and I'll come to where the new builds are available in a second. The people I can't help out, unfortunately, are the guys still running 32-bit versions of Windows. I can't target a build on 32 bits. I'm really sorry for you guys, but I can only do 64 bits, no matter what I want to try and do. So if you can move to 64-bit operating system, you can run it, but it's just never going to work on 32 bits. Aside from the guys on regular controllers, there was one guy, and I'm sorry I've neglected to write people's names down in the majority of cases, that was using like a switch controller down some open source thing to make it act like a Xbox 360 joystick, and he said that wasn't working very well. I haven't tried it with normal joysticks. I'll have a look into this at some point, but I haven't done anything yet. You're on your own so far as far as using a regular joystick goes, but it is something I'd like to do, because then people that haven't got a hobby radio can perhaps fly with a regular, like, you know, PS4 or Xbox controller. I'll probably do something like have the throttle stickers going from halfway, so you can sort of let it drop down to nothing, as opposed to having to sort of pull it down to be under 50%. But that's future. So the other thing I did, and thank you to somebody who pointed out that it might be a good idea, and again, I couldn't find your name. I tried to track you down to thank you for this one. He suggested using GitHub as a defect tracker, even if I wasn't going to open source the project. But you made a very good point about being able to show what defects are being worked on, what's being fixed and what's not fixed, maybe what features are there. And I thought that's a good idea, so I create myself a GitHub page. Another advantage of using GitHub is I can distribute the binaries as releases, instead of having you know, to keep sharing my Google Drive page, and then the releases will stay there, so you can always get them without having to sort of come back to the video and stuff. Link to that GitHub down below. It's github.com/kerrykitten/sim, and you will find there's not much on there. There's a file called readme, which is a very basic readme file just saying this is what it is. The more interesting things to look at are the issues. What I've got on the issues are the future features that I've looked at, and a bunch of you gave me a lot more ideas. Everybody loved the ball. I like the ball, and we need to do some games with the balls. That sounds wrong. So yeah, that's certainly in there. A lot more people got quite excited about chase stuff. I mentioned perhaps falling around a quad. Loads more people said, what about cars? What about planes? I was like, good idea. I'll put that down in my list of features to do. and we've got some of the bugs on there, like the clipping through the ground thing I mentioned last time. A few of you still pointed that out, that they managed to do it. The shadow jitter, and some of the other features on there that I mentioned, some of which I've mentioned, some of a lot of you guys mentioned. A lot of you said line of sight would be really useful. That's on there as a feature. A few guys mentioned about using it on the phone. I've put the Android iOS support as a future thing because it has to be like completely re-engineered in a lot of ways to get it onto touch devices. But yeah, that's out there, and I'm not asking people to necessarily submit issues via that. You can still comment down below in YouTube or send me mails that I talked about last time. Just the fact that if you think you have a problem and you want to know if I already seen it, just have a quick look at this page, and if there's not a bug there for it, then let me know and I'll add it to the list. So the other thing to look at from there is if you look on the code tab and then go to the release tab, there is a 031-alpha release. So this fixes what you saw in the video on the laptop. The escape key now is okay. We've got the tear has become TAER. I also used chmod in the Mac binaries to sort of see if I could shortcut having to work around on Catalina, but I also put the executable flag on the Linux binaries, and the guys on Linux noticed it wasn't set. So it kind of depends what happens when it's zipped and unzipped, and there's a load of Unix style permissions on the UID GID which might not translate as you download it. Don't know. Don't get excited about the fact it says source code at the bottom. Basically it bundles everything up in my directory, which is just the readme file. So if you want to download that readme file and keep it on your own computer, by all means download the source code there. That's it for now. As I said, I'll be back in January with more updates. Until then, don't forget, please carry on commenting down below. I will read them all. You can email me at the address again down below and in the Simmers stuff. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. Click the little bell icon, it's around here somewhere, etc, etc, etc. Have a good Christmas. I'll see you in the new year. Bye for now.
Well, you've made it to the end of the video, so thanks once again for watching. If you like what you saw, then please consider subscribing, and if you really like what you saw, then be sure to check out the link to my blog for a variety of ways in which you can help support this channel.